If you struggle with alcohol and you've gotten to the point in your life where everything seems dull or boring unless it involves alcohol, let me help you understand why. So alcohol secretes a neurotransmitter in your brain, actually two main ones called dopamine and GABA. And what happens is every time you drink alcohol, it floods your brain with dopamine. On average, your dopamine set point is about 50 nanograms per deciliter. And when you drink alcohol, it raises it to almost 200. So 4x the normal level. Now, to help you understand how much that is, in contrast, when you eat your favorite food or you're having sex, it increases dopamine to about 90 to 95 nanograms per deciliter. So the maximum sort of limit of pleasure that we are to experience as human beings is right around, let's say, 100. And we normally set at 50, but alcohol raises it to 200 temporarily. Now, it also increases another neurotransmitter in your brain called GABA. And GABA, when increased, helps you feel calm and relaxed. Now, the brain is always trying to maintain a level balance. And so the way I help people overcome their addiction is by helping them understand the neuroscience, but also taking this through a trauma-informed lens rather than a 12-step thing that doesn't address the root cause and looks at nothing else and just tells you to go to meetings. But beyond that, right? So what happens is when you drink alcohol, it floods the brain with dopamine and GABA and gives you that temporary feeling of anxiety reduction and pleasure and motivation and euphoria. Before it comes back down to baseline, it goes to the equal and opposite direction. So that's why the next day you feel really unmotivated, you feel that anxiety, you feel really anxious, you feel guilt and shame. Now, what creates the cycle of dependency and addiction and craving is that before it returns back up to baseline levels of, let's say, 50, it's actually not going to. It's going to return, and it's probably going to return to 48. And with enough drinking over time sustained over years or decades, that baseline is going to continue to lower because you have now conditioned and trained your brain to get that dopamine release and GABA release from alcohol. So the natural baseline and set point gets lower and lower and lower. And so as a result, life feels more boring, more dull, and less interesting, and everything seems less motivating unless it involves alcohol. So if you are a problematic drinker and you've gotten to the point where everything feels dull and boring and the thought of giving up alcohol is scary, I want you to understand, as somebody who's 2 years sober, who used to drink 4 to 6 bottles of wine a day, that is a warped perception caused by the imbalance in your neurochemistry, and life is actually not boring without alcohol. If this was helpful, comment below, and if you're interested in private sobriety coaching, go ahead and click on the link in my profile.